Hello, all. Welcome to episode 11 of the GenAI CIO podcast. Shiva here, founder of Lizer. I'm joined by Rishabh, co-founder of GoML. And today we bring in some more news from the generative AI world, which relates to enterprise because that's the theme, which is the GenAI CIO. I mean, we want to bring in news which would be useful for companies and businesses and kind of also understand how technologies can, how can they integrate technologies into their workflows. So, pretty interesting week, a lot of silent hits, a lot of silent releases. Looks like that seems to be the flavor of the season. I'll start with this first one, Miku. So Miku, yeah, however we call Miku is a Mistral. Apparently, a model was leaked. A 70 billion model was leaked from Mistral. The CEO acknowledged that an over-enthusiastic employee of Mistral kind of leaked the model, which is again, I would want to take that with a pinch of salt. It is could also be a neat marketing tactic, but that's not the headline grabber. The real aspect here is MiQ is performing pretty close to GPT-4. All the previous models were comparable to GPT 3.5, but MiQ is like pretty close, like 85% of the eval score. It's pretty close to GPT-4. They are attributing this to the fact that they've tuned, the weights really well, and also there are also discussions that, hey, you know what, they used a pre-trained data to train the model. So by doing that, you are removing a lot of redundancy in the data that you used to train. I mean, most of the earlier models, if you see, they were just trained on a random set of data, curated to a certain extent. But apparently, Miki's performance is better, probably because they trained it on a pre-trained data. They have assigned the models the weights really well, and if you know the background, the Miki's core developer is the one who built Llama model at Meta. So he actually knows what was the data that went into the very first Llama model. I'm talking about Llama 1, the 7B model that they launched. And if you know, Mistral is built on Llama model actually. So now since they know the backend data that was originally trained, they could have probably retrained the whole training data and then used it to build this model. So a lot of guesswork is happening on to try and understand what really worked here. But long story short, this is pretty getting close to GPT-4, and GPT-5 should ideally be, bar raising. But Rishabh, you have a fantastic model to work with now.
No, I definitely agree, Shiva. But see, my take is a little like while I think we've spoken about new models coming up in every podcast, and I think before we started today's podcast, we had to remove Eagle's launch news because we were covering new models coming in every podcast.
Correct.
But
Correct.
but I think what's really important over here is, and this is where now the world needs to move, which is how do you it doesn't matter on the number of parameters that it's actually trained, right? Or the size of the parameters that are actually trained. And I think Microsoft 5 is a brilliant example, right? It's a very less number of parameters trained model, right? It's a small language model as we have started calling them, right? But the accuracy in the output that we've been able to get from such models is much higher, or probably at least equivalent to these large language models, right? The reason is because the data that you're actually leveraging is quality data, right? So there's five trained on textbook data, right? That's what they at least claim, and that's what we've seen as well. It gives good accuracy even with such less parameters. Now, probably that's what even Mistral is moving towards. So it's again the usability and utility of these models, and not about the parameters like what's the instructive parameters, what's the context window, and so on and so forth. So good update, absolutely sure, but this is where we all should be moving to, right? Utility of these models, and another important aspect is as we optimize these models further with good data trained, these models will be easier to consume and run as well, right? More practical to consume, sorry, on the long run, right? So good update, Shiva.
Yeah, no, on that note, if you see, NVIDIA is very bullish about the fact that the nations will need their own models eventually. So NVIDIA is like already looking into that perspective. Like, what if India, for example, want to run a bunch of models for different languages where they could use Mistral and NVIDIA to build their own local models run by the government. So yeah, I mean, the open source models are actually opening up a lot of possibilities. So yeah, let's move to the next one today. What we have.
So next one is probably a good update, a very short update, but so Hugging Face obviously has been kind of a harbinger in terms of the open source models getting listed, right? Runnable models, anyone can contribute. Everyone is aware what how the addition that Hugging Face has brought in, and the testament to obviously what they bring in the industry is that they partnered with almost all these hyperscalers across. Right? They are partners with AWS for a long time now. Which means that you can actually run any of these Hugging Face models on SageMaker today, right? What has now happened is obviously Google being a little late in a lot of these games, they've now signed a partnership with Hugging Face as well, right? But what does it mean for our viewers specifically is that now the Hugging Face models, one obviously is you can now directly leverage the the GCP, infrastructure to run your models. But you'll be directly able to integrate those models and run it on Vertex AI, which is Google Studio, ML Studio, right? Equivalent of SageMaker, right? So I think one thing definitely is that it's giving and moving from open source to probably Shiva running consumability of these models with this update, right? So it's the whole ecosystem getting tied together, right? How easy it becomes for you to run and launch these models. Good update. The only point that or probably two things that I'm really looking forward to see now is one obviously is let's see, does this actually include, because at least in my conversations that I've had, Shiva, till date, we've run models on Vertex AI. We've not found it as comprehensive as SageMaker today when it comes to the whole MLOps piece, right? But what would be very interesting is can they make some of these models consumable through Model Garden, right? Which is Google's equivalent of where they host, where they give you these pre-built models, right? So can they probably integrate with Model Garden, then that gets integrated with Vertex AI and so on. If they can build that ecosystem for the developers, would be very good to see.
No, it's a definitely a good option now for developers. I used to see that Hugging Face transformers were primarily run on SageMaker. Now you have an option to run it on Vertex as well, which is a good update actually.
Absolutely. Okay, coming to obviously, I don't think so. Any of our podcasts have gone by without OpenAI being mentioned. Ever so, right? Shiva? But yeah, I mean, since the time they launched the GPT store, I think most of the updates or really good updates have been on the GPT store, and this one actually is in the same area. So one obviously is as people would have known by now, it's been almost 20 days since they launched the GPT store. And I think the last I
Mm.
was seeing is there were close to 3 million plus GPTs, custom GPTs launched, right, on GPT
Yeah,
store across. And it's not only that only developers are doing it or independent freelancers are doing it, the companies also doing it,
yeah.
Shiva, that we were reading, going to. Now, another interesting update. So one is launching these custom GPTs. Second, again, I'm going back to the consumability and using these GPTs, right? Because that's the major focus. So what they've done is they've made it more easier, right? Like today, obviously, if I have to use a custom GPT, I generally go to explore GPT option, right? And I probably start consuming, based on the usability. Now today, two things, right? So one obviously is I can start including any of these custom GPTs into my usability or conversation, something very similar to what Slack allows today is just by including his at the rate, right? And then mentioning the bot name, the GPT bot name, right? I can include that in my conversation, right? And I can actually start, leveraging some functionality that it has, right? They made it so intelligent, and I was trying it out, Shiva. They made it so intelligent that if probably I don't know the exact name, obviously they give you the hint in terms of which bots you need to include. But if it
Yeah.
doesn't include, or probably you don't find that bot, just with a simple click, you can create that bot. Right? You can start building that bot, right? So the consumability, at least I found, was pretty good, right? And they made it very practical to include, right? Although I still feel this is more of a Slack model that they followed, but absolutely, definitely, the consumability part is really good.
No, I mean, it opens up another way of looking at how agents could be called into a workflow. OpenAI always has been, they've been saying that, hey, your future workload is going to be all text based and you will call in agents to do a certain job.
Exactly.
Take, for example, at Lizer, we launched Lizer Automata early this week, where we're taking a slightly different approach. It's more of a state approach, state models, right? You'll have multiple states, and these states are like tasks and agents come together to perform a state function, go from one state to another state. So it's a state function model. GPT has a different model of calling agents. So something like Lang graph by LangChain has a different model. So it's
Yes.
all interesting to see. I'm really excited to see what it has in store in future. How these, because currently it's restrictive, right? You need GPT plus access, like you need to pay $20. So what if it becomes unrestricted? What if others can also call the agents and kind of use it? So we kind of have to wait and see how this whole model evolves, actually. But it's a
Absolutely.
good update.
Absolutely. And again, Shiva, I think it's in the initial phases, right? I remember, probably I might have been very young when Slack had introduced this, but I remember, right? But when it was introduced, it took a lot of time to get probably used to. But now, probably, I don't think so. We can even live without that, right? So I'm
Yeah.
just really excited how well this becomes part of our lives. And I think the agent part that you just mentioned, that this update probably just drives us into that direction. Can I probably have multiple bots doing tasks, right? And then one bot handing over the task to the next one, and so on and so forth, right? So that will be very interesting to see.
Yes. Okay. So next up we have Shopify. So why is Shopify in the news and why are they, I mean, appearing in an enterprise CIO or generative AI CIO podcast, right? So, uh, I mean, Shopify launched a set of AI tools for free for all their customers who are existing small shop owners to edit products, to create beautiful backgrounds for their products, the product images basically, to create marketing videos, marketing content. Imagine there are a ton of SaaS companies who are building all of this, but Shopify now giving it for free means that they're going to retain all their customers without leaving the platform, and at the same time kind of bringing an end to all the SaaS companies who are building products that Shopify customers could use. So the reason I'm trying to highlight this is just the effect that these large incumbents have. One small release from them actually kills a ton of startups. And the same goes with the enterprise setting. If you see ServiceNow, Salesforce, all these large companies launching their own AI features, either for free or for at a very minimal charge. And I think that's how incumbents are playing the game. So Shopify is a very good example of that.
Yeah. I think that's and thanks Shiva for bringing this up right today. See, and that's what tech is enabling companies to do, right? Well, I know digressing from the topic a bit, but it no longer takes a company to become 50, or it no longer takes a company 50 years to become one of the greatest companies, right? Or probably even become a great company. Look at what happened with Uber, what happened with Facebook, Meta,
Yeah.
right? What's happening with a lot of, like, I always give this example of, especially with GenAI coming into picture, right? Companies are getting acquired for 1.3 freaking billion dollars in like just a year of getting built, and they are getting done. Or that's happening because. And I know the and I'm pretty sure you know the reference that I'm giving, right, Shiva, is because they are building something which is very great, because tech is now enabling them to do that at a much faster scale, right? So it's no longer, I think time is not the game, it's primarily the value that you're actually bringing in the market is probably what matters now, right, in this century.
Got it. Yeah. No, makes absolute sense for large incumbents to do this.
Yep.
What do we have next?
So, while obviously, Elon Musk is in news more often than not for a lot of other reasons, but this time, finding Neuralink has done its first experiment, Shiva, with a human, right, by implanting a brain chip, right. Okay, so first of all, just for our viewers, the concept that Neuralink or Elon Musk is trying to bring in with Neuralink is that through a set of implants, or probably through a chip implant, they plan on reading the conscious of the further person of a human being and then downloading that into a machine, right? The idea obviously that Elon always has had is beyond what normal tech can actually do, be it settling on Mars or be giving completely electric vehicles. This time similarly they want to build something which allows users to live beyond their actual lifespans, right? With their thoughts and their conscious, right? So that's what the whole concept with Neuralink is. Well, we've been
Yeah.
hearing a lot about Neuralink for over a year now. They've just conducted their first experiment, right, by implanting it into a human brain. But what I feel, Shiva, while obviously and I think there was an update that we had discussed about in one of our podcasts where Sydney University had primarily done something very similar without an invasive technology. They had read your eyeball movement and then probably an EEG of your
And they
brain.
and
That
they
would
had
probably
almost about 40. I remember they are almost about 40 percentage
it's
accuracy in yeah.
like understanding the essence of the conversation. They were like really bang on, right? Obviously they were struggling in forming very coherent sentences, right? So it's a good update probably to see where they're moving, right? I just also read another update in the similar area where scientists have printed an actual brain tissue using a 3D printer and ML technology, right? Which now opens up the whole the whole brain implants area, right? And how do we leverage that also in the whole conscious world? But what would be very interesting is how all this is regulated, right, Shiva, right?
Got it.
While we can, joke about it, I don't want my wife to probably read my thoughts, but how this would be regulated on a legal scale, right? There's something like we are still struggling with GenAI, something which is not invasive as well, right? I think something like this coming in, how this is regulated would be very interesting.
I mean, no, see, Elon Musk has been saying this for quite some time that this is for people who have medical conditions. That's where this technology is like really, really helpful. But yeah, as you kind of rightly think, right, where this could evolve into much bigger, much larger over a period of time where more complications can come into picture. But nevertheless, I saw the demo video at least. I'm not sure how true or fake it is, but the video was really something. I mean, someone was actually having actions on a screen just by thinking. That was crazy with Neuralink, actually. Hope, I mean,
Yeah.
nice, interesting
And
times to see.
again, as I'm mentioning, I'm really not worried about the accuracy. I'm pretty sure we'll get there. I think in the initial phase, nascent phase itself, we've seen how good this technology or what is the capability. I'm again just looking at the practical implication, right, and how that's monitored and regulated, right, sure, as we move ahead.
Got it.
Uh, Next update, Shiva, about Google. Obviously, Google, made a lot of news last week when they finally announced that Ultra would be out. Gemini Ultra would be out on 7th of February, right? But they've made a lot of upgrades, one after the other last week, right? While we did speak about Lumiere, which is one of their, text to video generation tools, and it's slated to be one of the best in the market till date because they're doing that in one shot, right? They've made a slew of updates, including upgradation of Bard to probably Gemini Pro, right? They've also introduced another, image generation model with Imagen 2, right, which again seems to
Hmm.
have quite a good amount of capabilities. They've also introduced, for the first time in Google Maps, right, since the time we started seeing GenAI coming into the mainstream applications, for the first time they've introduced GenAI applications or GenAI use cases on Maps, Google Maps, right, which probably after Google Search is the most adopted product from Google, right? And I was
Yeah.
trying, but obviously it's still not available for us to use yet, but I was seeing this video right, where someone was actually, trying to a very complex. When I say very complex, a lot of entities given into a single sentence. Like I want to look out for places to hang out with my friends. We just want to relax and have a few drinks in San Francisco, right? And the end is, first of all, obviously finding a place in San Francisco to relax is a tough spot in itself, right here. But the engine or the map was able to understand most of the entities, right, and then probably shortlist the top three properties, restaurants that suit the needs. But what was really beautiful about it is that when the person was actually trying it out, he actually mentioned that these are the places which at least 95% suit the needs that he had actually mentioned. It wasn't just you know a bar or something that it has thrown up in the list, right? So
I mean,
that's a good update from Google. Yeah.
we all now know, we have a feeling of what Google and videos are. Their so-called product demo videos are not to be trusted anymore. Let's wait until it gets rolled out to everyone, literally. I mean, they have some fantastic platforms, definitely. Google Maps, Gmail, they're like massive platforms which can, AI can take the experience to a different level altogether, including Google, even Google Photos, if you think about.
Yes.
But yeah, let's wait for the actual product to roll out to all of us. Let's see what happens.
I I think what you've rightly mentioned, right, Shiva, and that's why I'm a little, put off by the strategy or the sleuth of updates that they mentioned. I think they've released a text to music model as well, right, which allows you to probably generate music through text prompts. So one thing, and you rightly mentioned, is that they built some really good products or great product, not even good, great products, right? So Google does a brilliant job of doing a brilliant job at one thing, right? Where they are not good is of jack of all trades, master of none. So that's why I was really not happy about what happened with these updates, where they've gone all out with image to video, image to say text, image to text to image, text to music, bringing into maps and everything, right? So, but yeah, it'll be good to see which of these products in the GenAI side is Google mastering on.
Yeah, no, if you think about this really from a different angle, Google has been pretty bad in marketing and positioning the tech that they have. Of late, I think Google Pixel kind of is a hit, and probably Google Cloud is trying to become a hit, but again, Google Cloud lost the race long back. They're trying to catch up. But I'm not able to think of any major hit coming out of Google recently. Google Photos, Google Plus, all this continues to be a flop. And Google is also not doing a great job in the acquisition game as well. Yes, Google has invested in Anthropic, which is okay, but they haven't been like, say, Facebook managed to acquire WhatsApp and Instagram from a consumer product standpoint. Google couldn't even acquire Twitter. I mean, they couldn't even do any of this actually. I mean, this is a little crazy to be honest. That Google
Even
is
on the
not good at
partnership front,
acquisition
they've
game.
been even on the partnership front, right, Shiva, Hugging Face, I think they're one of the last to actually come and partner with Hugging Face, right? So yeah, even
Yeah,
on the partnership front, they've been even partnership front, releasing a model, right? I think Gemini came in probably a little late last year after a very botched up release. Let's see what happens with Ultra. But you're absolutely right. I think in some places they've been really slow. Let's see how they pick up and play the catch
in a
up
lot
game.
of
It's
places,
more
to
of
be
a
honest.
catch up
Yeah.
game now. Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, a lot of places they really had a shot with Gemini, which they have kind of again screwed up. They just keep releasing all this video. I mean, the text to video, 5 second video, demo videos and stuff. Google, yeah. Google needs a overhaul probably from a product positioning standpoint. Last
Yes.
up, so we have OpenAI again in the news. So Sam Altman was in one of the interview where he said that AGI will allow, I would say, founders, one-person company, uh, one-person billion-dollar company. That's what he mentioned. There was a big debate on Twitter. Okay, did he mention what is he meaning? Trying to say, is it $1 billion valuation or $1 billion in revenue, right? Or real valuation, not the valuation based on investment or round they raise, but rather valuation based on revenue that they do. I think my personal opinion is that he is kind of referring to the later part, which is valuation based on the revenue or the real valuation actually. And his strong opinion is that, hey, with AGI, you can build multiple agents who can do multiple things for you. So with just one single person, you can have a swarm or an army of agents doing things for you, which can get you to the $1 billion revenue. Possible, not applicable in a lot of cases, but possible. I can think of something like a MailChimp or a WhatsApp. If you think of these technologies, or even Perplexity for that matter, these are apps which are run by 30-member team, 20-member team, at their peak when they crossed $1 million or $1 billion in valuation, and with many million users in place. I think what he's saying is possible, but it's not straightforward. At Lizer, we just launched our agent platform, and we know it's not easy. There is a ton of things that are getting difficult for us to. I mean, when we try and automate things, we know that it's not easy to automate the whole workflow. You can automate a static workflow. For example, you can automate chat agents. You can automate document search or perplexity style enterprise search. What you cannot automate is the whole workflow actually. So that's why, I mean, it's going to take some time, but let's see. I mean, he's very bullish about it. He has to be bullish about it. He has to raise money for the company to keep running. We saw a report yesterday that OpenAI apparently made a statement that they have not received most of the Microsoft funding yet. So that's crazy.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah. Yeah,
That's surprising.
yesterday there was the press release. Yes, apparently very small amount of the $10 billion money has come to OpenAI. So
Okay, that's very surprising and disturbing, right? No wonder, and I think Shiva, you and I was catching up on this in one of our podcasts, right? That Microsoft at this point it's very difficult to understand their strategy. One is they've partnered with OpenAI, and they're actually
yeah,
consuming ChatGPT, right? But at the same time, what they're doing is they're giving like Copilot now allows you to access ChatGPT plus,
yeah.
right, without paying the $20 subscription, right? They made even chat like I think the consumability side that they're trying to increase from the Microsoft offerings on chat GPT is a bit of a confusing play, right? But what I'm and just probably just my 10-second note on this news, right? While I'm pretty happy always with the updates that Sam Altman gives, but what really worries me is every time that Sam Altman comes in the forest speaking about AGI, right? Or obviously everything becoming transient and so on and so forth, how it's going to benefit, the yardstick changes, right, Shiva? Right. I'm not saying the definition. Well, to a certain extent, we can even say that, right? Everyone has their own definition, but the yardstick changes in terms of how do you measure what will be
Hmm.
AGI. So what worries me is, are they actually working towards building AGI, actual AGI, right? Or are they working, or are they pushing, OpenAI to reach that AGI, and that's why the yardstick keeps changing. So that one day, one fine day, when they've actually decided that yardstick, and you convinced us about that yardstick, and they go out and say, okay, we've done AGI now, right? Or we've achieved AGI now, right? So that's what worries me a bit, right? But as always, Sam Altman brings up good updates and good uh, for the industry,
Yeah,
right?
no,
So.
I think it's just very intriguing that a lot of them have started thinking about, okay, how can I run a lean team? How can I run a very small team and go for a larger valuation or build more agents? So 2024 is kind of dubbed as the year of agents. No wonder everyone has started building them. I mean, at Lizer we do this as well, and I'm pretty sure at GoML you might be doing a lot of similar projects to build this whole workflows. So yeah, it's interesting to see how we can automate a lot of our work as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, Shiva. Great. Thanks, Shiva, for joining us, and thanks viewers for listening in. This was another update, right? We have on this year, those week's podcast that promised we'll continue doing this for another weeks. Continue to bring updates for you, as well as in the next few weeks we'll also have certain industry stalwarts joining us in terms of how they've been building and they've been approaching some GenAI use cases. So stay tuned and keep listening. Thank you so much for joining again.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.